Good morning. In today's video we will discuss about transformation object types. So Power Center tool is providing various transformation objects, but they are categorized into two types. Power Center tool is providing two type of transformation objects. So what are those means? They are like passive, second one active. So there are two types of transformations, like passive transformations and active transformations. Whenever you are placing a transformation object in the ETL process, usually we will not say anything like a passive or active, something like that. Only for Java transformations we need to specify at the time of creation. But why you should learn this means, when you are linking the objects like a 2 pipelines or 3 pipelines, sometimes it will not support you to link from one object to another object. So in what are the cases it is not possible means, whenever you are trying to take an active transformation between two passive transformations through bypass process, something like that. So first of all, what do you mean by passive and what do you mean by active? We will take it up. First of all, what is a transformation object? Transformation object is used to define business logic. Maybe you can do some calculations or a filtering or a sorting, like different types of manipulations of data. So if you take one transformation object, and for this transformation object we are giving some input. Based on the input, what are the logics we have defined under the transformation object, that logics will perform and it gives me an output. So here we are providing some input and here we are getting some output. Now whenever you are giving a set of rows as an input, for example you are getting as 2 rows as an input, we are giving 2 rows as an input, and output also we are getting as a 2 rows. Here we are not bothering what is the logic we have defined under the transformation object, and how many input ports we are assigning and how many output ports are there, we are not considering. So how many input ports we are having and how many output ports we are having, we are without bothering about that. We are trying to take only the row count. So So if you say that you are giving 2 rows as an input, after manipulation again it is giving 2 rows as an output. The data may change, the number of output ports may be different, but still we are trying to consider only the row count. So if the row count is same as an input, then this transformation is belonging to passive type. So as a definition wise means, without bothering about the manipulations and the transformation, if you compare the input and row count, output row count, if they are same, then that is belonging to passive type. So if a transformation object output row count is same as input row count, then the transformation object is belonging to passive type. But there is one condition on this. It is not like what are the input rows you are giving, based on that it is decided the row output row count, or maybe based on the logics you have defined, it is should not be depend on the output row count. Means irrespective of the data what you are passing, irrespective of what is the logics you have done in the transformation object, if your row count is the same on both sides, then only we will call that as an passive type. So without bothering what is the data you are passing and what is the logics we are doing, without considering that, every time if your output row count is same as input row count, then only we will call that as an passive type. So I will make small change. If a transformation object output row count is same as input row count in all cases, irrespective of the data passed and the logic defined in the transformation. If a transformation object output row count is same as input row count in all cases, irrespective of the data passed, that means input data, irrespective of the input data and the logic defined under transformation object, then the transformation object is belonging to passive type. Like for example, we are implementing a logic called as we are trying to sort the data, we are trying to sort the records. So when you are sorting the data, is there any possibility that row count will change? You are having input rows as 10 rows and you are asking to sort the data based on sales amount, maybe based on the salary, maybe based on the employee number. Does that any records will reduce when you go to an output form? Means no, we will get all the rows in sorted order. So you have done some logic on the data, that is you are sorting the data, but it is not affecting the row count. So such type of transformations are called as an passive types. So what are the examples for this? Means They are something like this. Sort transformation, next expression, etc. So in all these transformations, if you give 10 rows as an input, definitely you will get 10 rows as an output. The data may change, the number of ports may change, but the row count will be the same irrespective of what is the data you have passed, what is the calculations you done in the object. So these type of things are called as in passive types. And if you go to the second one, active type. So what is an active? Sorry. So here you are having some transformation object. For this transformation object, we are giving some input. You passed some input rows and you are getting output rows. Now in the input, for example, you have passed the 2 rows. You passed the 2 rows, or maybe a 4 rows we have, maybe 2 rows. Output you are getting only as 1 row. You are getting only 1 row as an output. Now based on what is the data you are passing, what is the logics you implemented in the transformation object, because of any one of these two things, the number of rows are reduced. That means output row count is reduced when compared to input row count. Then this transformation is called as an active. But don't consider that output row count, if it is decreased then only it is an active. No. Even if the output row count is increased, then also we can call that as an active type. So your output row count is maybe 1 row, or maybe you got something called as an 4 rows, maybe 3 rows, or n number of rows. So whenever the row count is decreased or whenever the row count is increased because of the data what you have passed and the logics implemented, such type of transformation will call as active type. Now active type means don't consider that output row count and input row count will not be same. There is a possibility you may have the same row count also. That means if there is any possibility of getting different output row count when compared to input row count, maybe because of data, maybe because of logics, so such type of transformation is called as active type. If a transformation object row count output row count is not same as input row count. If a transformation object output row count is not same as input row count because of the input data or because of the logics, defined in transformation object. If a transformation object output row count is not same as input row count because of input data or because of the logics defined in the transformation object, then transformation object is called as act, or then the transformation object is belonging to active type. So purely whether it is a passive or active, that is depending on the comparison of row count. We are not comparing the data, we are not comparing the number of columns. If the row count is same in both cases, that means on input and output side, then the transformation is belonging to passive type. If there is any possible or different row count, then it is active type. Like for example, what are the examples means? There is something like filter, router, joiner, union, aggregator. Like this, various transformation objects are there. Normalizer, like various transformation objects. So all this transformation comes under active type. For example, we are trying to take a filter condition. So we are trying to use a filter transformation object, and here we gave a condition that salary greater than 4,000, salary greater than 4,000, some value, and for this you are giving some inputs. You are giving some input. Now my input data is in this format. It is an input and this is an output. Now in the input I am having some data in this way. 101, name is for example Ravi, salary is for example 1000. One more person, 102, name is for example Kiran, salary is 2000, or I'll say as in 4500. First one I'll take as in 6000. So like this, depending on the requirement. So totally how many rows you are having here? Input means I'm having 2 rows as an input. I'm having 2 rows as an input. So what are the output rows? First row, if you check it up, salary 6000, but our condition is greater than 4000, that condition is satisfied. Next 4500, that is also greater than 4000, so that also will come as an output. So both the records will get as an output. So both the records will get as an output. This is one phase. In the next case, I am having the same data as it is. And here, along with this, I am having one more record. 103, name is Smith, salary is 5500, or I'll say as in 1000. So these are the 3 rows we are giving as an input. Now we are giving 3 rows as an input. So what is an output? As per this scenario, so this is my input and I am getting an output. So my condition in the filter is salary greater than 4000. Now I give as a 3 rows as an input. How many rows you are getting as an output? Only 2 records. So we have not made any change in the filter, but its output row count is may or may not match to input row count. In the first case, output row count is exactly same as an input row count, whereas in the next example, the output row count is different from input row count. So whenever you are having differences like that, then step of transformation is belonging to active type. So it is about active versus passive transformations.